Look around the room you are currently sitting in. The screen displaying these words, the chair supporting you, the fabric of your clothes, and the appliance cooling your food all share a common physical origin. Before they reached you, they were temporarily housed inside a corrugated steel box, moving across a vast, synchronized global network. Billions of people depend entirely on this planetary-scale conveyor belt to sustain their modern lives. The global economy relies on a massive, highly choreographed machine built to solve a single monumental challenge: the cheap, large-scale transportation of matter across the surface of the Earth. Prior to the mid-20th century, global trade was severely restricted by the physical friction of moving goods. Cargo was transported using the break-bulk method. Goods were packed into irregular sacks, wooden crates, and iron barrels. At every port, armies of longshoremen would manually lift each individual item, hoist it onto a ship in cargo nets, and pack it into the hull like a massive, disorganized puzzle. The process was catastrophically inefficient. In 1937, a trucking entrepreneur named Malcolm McLean was waiting at the docks in New Jersey for his vehicles to be unloaded. Watching the agonizingly slow pace of the stevedores manually moving bales of cotton, he reasoned that the terrestrial handling friction could be bypassed entirely. If the cargo remained inside a single standardized box, essentially the entire truck trailer minus the wheels, it could simply be hoisted directly onto the ship. This chart shows the immediate economic shockwave of McLean's system, which he tested on a retrofitted oil tanker named the Ideal X in 1956. The cost of loading cargo plummeted from the prevailing break bulk rate of $5.86 per ton to a mere 16 cents per ton. A process that normally took days or weeks was completed in less than 8 hours. Early adoption of this system was chaotic, with competing companies using different box sizes. It took the immense logistical demands of the Vietnam War for the U.S. government to force uniformity. By 1968, the International Organization for Standardization formally established global dimensions. The 20-foot container became the universal metric of maritime trade, officially designated as the 20-foot equivalent unit, or TEU. By establishing a single unvarying mathematical specification for cranes, truck chassis, rail cars, and ship cell guides all over the world, the physical friction of manual transport was eliminated. Standardizing the steel box destroyed the financial barrier of distance, making global sourcing viable on a massive scale. To see how this system operates today, we track a single container packed with electronics at an inland manufacturing hub in India. Before boarding a ship, it avoids congested highways by traveling on the Western Dedicated Freight Corridor, a 1,500-kilometer route engineered exclusively for high-speed freight. To clear the height of 2 stacked containers, the electrical overhead wires were raised to 7.45 meters. Giant 12,000-horsepower electric locomotives pull trains carrying twice the capacity of a standard consist. Beneath them, head-hardened rails with an enhanced axe load capacity ensure the immense weight of the steel boxes does not pulverize the underlying stone. Our container rides this high-speed conveyor belt seamlessly into the sprawling PSA Mumbai terminal. It is here that the physical world of steel collides with the invisible digital friction of the container stowage planning problem. This diagram illustrates the sheer scale of the mathematics required to load a vessel. Even for a miniature ship holding only 70 containers, the possible loading configurations equal 70 factorial. That is a number exponentially greater than the estimated atoms in the observable universe. If a port operator places a container destined for Rotterdam underneath one meant for Singapore, the ship suffers an overstow. Executing restos to dig out the varied cargo bleeds hundreds of thousands of dollars in port fees and fuel. To tackle this computational load, modern logistics networks rely on proximal policy optimization. Artificial intelligence agents simulate millions of virtual loading sequences. One neural network predicts exactly where to place the container, while another evaluates the physical stability of the ship and crane workload. The algorithm learns to pack the ship in highly dimensional space, grouping containers by destination and weight into optimal blocks. Without algorithms to constantly resolve this mathematical friction, the physical ports would instantly paralyze under their own complexity. Our container is algorithmically assigned a specific slot, buried deep within a block of similarly destined cargo. Deep within the bowels of the ship, situated beneath thousands of tons of cargo, lies the prime mover required to push this floating steel mountain. The maritime industry relies on massive internal combustion engines, like the Wärtsilä's Sulzar RTA-96C. It stands 13.5 meters high and weighs 2,300 tons. Generating over 100,000 horsepower, introduces extreme thermodynamic friction. In a standard automobile engine, the connecting rod attaches directly from the crankshaft to the piston. But with marine pistons weighing 5.5 tons each, a direct attachment would generate immense lateral forces during the power stroke. The violent side-to-side motion would rapidly ovalize the cylinders and destroy the engine block from the inside out. Marine engineers solve this with an ingenious crosshead design. The connecting rod attaches to a crosshead mechanism riding in heavy guide channels. A separate, perfectly straight rod connects the crosshead vertically to the piston. All violent sideways forces from the rotating crankshaft are absorbed by the crosshead slippers, allowing the massive piston to move purely up and down. As the ship enters the open waters of the Arabian Sea, the fuel stacks must be secured against wind shear and ocean swells. Longshoremen rely on passive mechanical robotics known as semi-automatic twist locks inserted into the corner castings of the steel boxes. The immense pressure of an upper container pushes against the twist lock's lower cone. An internal spring then snaps the cone back into position, automatically locking the two containers together into a rigid block. This diagram demonstrates a stealthy environmental friction known as parametric rolling. Modern container ships feature wide flared bows and sterns. When head sea swells perfectly match the length of the ship, the bow and stern are temporarily suspended over the wave troughs. The ship suddenly loses buoyancy, dropping its metacentric height, and falls into a slight roll. As the wave trough reaches the middle, the restoring force aggressively snaps the ship upright, throwing its momentum into a deeper roll on the opposite side. Within a few wave cycles, a perfectly stable ship is thrown into violent rolls that shear the twist locks and buckle the cell guides. In 2024, hostilities in the Red Sea forced merchant vessels into heavy detours around the southern tip of Africa. Navigating the severe weather of the Cape of Good Hope spiked global container losses at sea by 160% in a single year. Despite meticulous mathematical algorithms and colossal thermodynamic power, the entire logistical system ultimately bows to the unforgiving limits of ocean physics. Assuming the ship survives the open ocean and avoids the Cape of Good Hope, it threads through the world's most vital geographic choke points. The Suez Canal connects the Red Sea directly to the Mediterranean. Slicing through the Egyptian desert, this trench eliminates roughly 4,300 nautical miles of geographic distance, saving over a week of transit time and hundreds of thousands of dollars in fuel. Navigating it is an exercise in extreme precision. Pushing a 24,000 TEU steel structure with a draft pushing the absolute limits of the canal's 20.1-meter restriction forces ships to travel in highly organized daily convoys. They must maintain incredibly slow speeds, ensuring the massive displacement of water does not erode the shallow canal banks. As the container arrives at its destination port in Europe, it interacts with an infrastructure devoid of human labor. At modern megaports, the terminal has transitioned into a sprawling, autonomous robotic hive. Double trolley quay cranes equipped with artificial intelligence vision systems lift containers onto fully autonomous guided vehicles that silently navigate the concrete yard without human drivers. But the final and most urgent friction facing this network is atmospheric. Moving 11 billion tons of goods annually requires burning over 300 million tons of heavy fossil fuels, accounting for roughly 3% of all global greenhouse gas emissions. To survive the environmental realities of the coming decades, major carriers are outfitting the newest generation of ships with two-stroke dual-fuel engines. These massive prime movers function identically on conventional heavy fuel oil, or can seamlessly switch their 1,000-bar common rail injection systems to run entirely on synthetic e-methanol. This flowchart details the chemistry of e-methanol. It is produced by combining green hydrogen, created using renewable electricity, with biogenic carbon dioxide, captured directly from waste incineration plants. Because the carbon emitted during combustion was originally captured from the atmosphere, the fuel acts in a closed loop, yielding a greenhouse gas emission reduction of up to 90%. The global container shipping network represents humanity's ultimate triumph over distance and friction. From the geometric efficiency of the corrugated steel TEU box and the mathematical precision of neural network algorithms to automated terminals and synthetically fueled engines, it is a highly optimized physical machine that continuously moves across the horizon, sustaining the reality of modern civilization. Which of these hidden mechanisms surprised you the most? Was it the proximal policy optimization algorithms packing the ships, the colossal engineering of the crosshead engines, or the destructive physics of parametric rolling? Let us know in the comments below.